So good morning, I'm Judy Fleming, Director of Hallelujah Acres Canada, and here we are again in the Hallelujah Acres or Hallelujah Diet Kitchens, and today we're going to talk about the Excalibur Dehydrator. A fabulous tool to use to warm up your food or dehydrate your food, especially in the fall once we have all of our produce ready in the garden all at the same time. So today what we're going to do is we're going to look at this, and I'm going to also make a couple of recipes just so you all have an idea of what you can do with your dehydrator. Excalibur also puts out a wonderful little book, Preserve It Naturally, and it's got some really great ideas and wonderful recipes. Okay, so this is the dehydrator right here, and as you'll see, if Jessica can zoom in here, it does have a control at the top with temperatures. We want to stay in the yellow range, which is under 112 degrees. Anything over that will start killing the enzymes in our food, and that's why we like the dehydrator, because it keeps the enzymes alive, but it warms the foods up. And as we finish the summer and get into the fall and through the winter, we're going to want warmer foods, and this is a great way to do it. So it has the control, and I usually set mine between 105 and 115 so that I know right smack between the two of them that that's going to be a good temperature. You don't want to go up to the orange or the red range, because then you will, as I said, kill the enzymes. It has a door, and you'll notice that this door is not sealed. Air can get out, and that's the whole idea. Air is going to flow through. And if Jessica wants to zoom in, you can see the fan is on the back of the I'll just pull a few of these out so you can actually see that. The fan's on the back of the Excalibur Dehydrator, and it will be blowing warm air over all the food on all the trays. And you'll notice I pulled out quite a few trays, and all together we have 9 trays. And the trays themselves, yeah, one of them, I'll pull it down from here. It comes with 9 of the big grid trays and 9 of the fine mesh screens, and we put them in here with the different foods on, and I use the Teflon sheets when I'm making crackers and different things like that. So when you do put the door back on, you put it on, but it doesn't seal because you actually want the air to get out. You don't want it to get too hot in there, and if you don't let the air out, obviously it would get much too hot inside. The Excalibur, the one that we sell here at Hallelujah Acres, is the 9-tray one. It does come in smaller, and we could special order them 5-tray, but I find that most people, once they start using this, want 9 trays because there's so many wonderful things that we can do with this. Some of the dehydrators you'll find have a timer on them, and I personally would not want one with a timer, because then it would shut off before it might be ready, and you never know when it's going to be ready. You have to trial and error. For instance, we're going to do some dehydrating of some peppers, some zucchini, apples, and bananas, and it depends on what the moisture content is of any of these as to how long it might take. But it's going to take anywhere from 4 to 12 hours to dehydrate your foods. And what I suggest you do is after 4 hours you check it and try a piece and see what it tastes like, see if you like the texture, if it's crisp enough, or whatever you want for it. And you might find that every time you do your apples or your bananas or any of these other foods that you might try different lengths of time. So every 4 hours I check on it to see, and that's one of the reasons why we don't have a timer. Another feature of the Excalibur that I really, really like is the fact that if I want to, I can take some trays out and I can put space between the trays, so I could put a larger item if I wanted to make a pecan loaf or an Ezekiel bread. There's lots of room. Whereas or else I can have a shorter room for just something like stuffed mushrooms, and if I've got my mushrooms in there, they take up a little bit more room than the inch space that you normally have between each tray. So it makes it very versatile. Also, the other thing about this dehydrator that we really like is that the heat is evenly distributed throughout all of the trays, unlike the round ones that have the heat at the bottom, and the heat has to come up through the center, so the things at the bottom get dehydrated much quicker than the things at the top. You'll find with the Excalibur Dehydrator that things get dehydrated evenly throughout the whole thing. Now when we do use the Teflon sheets, I'll talk to you about them in a few minutes, but right now I'm just going to tell you how you can dehydrate things like red peppers. Use your imagination. You don't have to do just the normal things that you hear of, like pineapple rings or banana chips or cucumber chips or sun-dried or dehydrated tomatoes. But I like trying all kinds of different things and cut them at different thicknesses, because you might find that some thicknesses are nicer than others, and you're the one to try that out. So we've got here red peppers, we have some zucchini, and on the same tray, even if I want to, or on separate trays, usually if I'm doing this, I do a whole tray of zucchini, another whole tray of red peppers, another whole tray of apple rings, and here we've got some apple pieces that we've done. And lastly, I've got here some bananas, and I've cut them a little bit thicker than some people do, because I like my banana chips to be chewy. And the nice thing about it is the flavors don't mingle when you're doing your dehydrating. So we just put them on the tray. And as I say, normally you would have a full tray of each one. Put it in the dehydrator, put the door back on, and then it's ready. And you turn it on, and the fan comes on. It's a very soft sound. We won't put it on right now because of filming. But it's a soft sound. It's not overly loud. And then you just walk away and come back every 2-4 hours or so. Check them out. If you've used the Paraflex sheet, you'll need to turn things over. But when you're just drying these things that aren't the vegetables that aren't wet and gooey, you don't need one. You don't need to turn them over. But you might want to try them after 2 hours, see what you think, after 4 hours, and then you'll know in the future what you like. We're going to make some flax crackers. This is one of the best things you can do with your dehydrator. Instead of eating bread all the time, I like to use flax crackers. And we have a combination of different things that I put in my flax crackers depending on what I want them to taste like afterwards. This is the batter for the flax crackers, and all it is ground up flax. You can see the consistency of it. I have flax. I have a little bit of hemp seed. A little bit of sunflower, not sunflower, but you could do sunflower, sesame seed, and poppy seeds in this particular one. And what I did is I took my little mini blender, and I took my flax, and you don't want to put too much in there, maybe half full at the most, and I ground up my flax seed just a little bit, enough to break it up so that you'll be able to digest it. But not as fine as you would if you were going to use it for a powder in a milkshake or smoothie. So we've got our flax seed in there, ground up, and then I put in the other seeds. Well, the hemp seeds I ground up as well, but these other seeds I put in whole. And then I added water to it. And the recipe will be at the end of this video, so you can see how we can make it. Now this is the basic recipe. It's got no seasoning in it. It's just basic flaxseed and other seeds and water. That's it. Now, we can take this and we can make it a savory, spicy flavor like we're going to do today, or we can make it into a sweet flavor using other things, and you'll see the two choices at the end in the recipe. We could add raisins and apples and cinnamon and nutmeg and make a nice dessert cracker or a dessert cake. Depending on how thick you might want to make it. And you will see that there's many recipes that you can use in our books for that. So we've added it, and when we first added the water, it was very, very runny, and we've let it sit for about half an hour, so it's this gooey consistency that you see here. Now in my food processor, we're going to add the things that we want to make this into a savory, spicy type flavor. And we're going to add some tomatoes, and I'm going to add some corn. And I find that it's very hard to find organic corn, but I buy organic frozen corn. And then that way I know I can add it to different things. So these are going to be corn flax crackers. And we've got tomatoes, we've got some onion, used green onion this time, some celery. And I always like to use the tops for my celery when I'm using it for this. I'm going to put some of the celery in here as well. And as I said, the recipe's at the end of the video. And some red pepper for a little bit of color. And some basil from the garden, wonderful basil. And this is the dark basil. And then some garlic, cloves, a little bit of sea salt. And some lemon juice, or if you don't have lemons available, apple cider vinegar would do the lines as well. And then we're going to grind this up. And we're going to process this. Sometimes you want it really, really fine, so it's just more of a liquid. But today I'm going to leave it with some of the chunks in because that will look really nice in the crackers. And boy, can you ever smell the beautiful flavors that we've just put in here. It just smells wonderful. So we're going to take this. Now you can make these nice and spicy if you want to by adding some cayenne pepper as well. And we're going to add this to the flax that we have already. And just stir them up together. Very simple recipe. And as I say, you can change it by the things you add to it. And then we stir this up so that it's all mingled together. And if it gets too runny, add a little bit of your ground flaxseed to thicken it up a little bit. But this is going to be the perfect consistency. Oh, isn't that wonderful? So you can see it's a little bit more runny, which is exactly what we want. It's got the wonderful reds and greens and dark burgundy color from the basil, all the wonderful colors. And then we've got our Paraflex sheets. So these Paraflex sheets are, these ones here are about 12 years old now, and I've used them many, many times. This is what they look like brand new. So you can see that you can use them over and over. You just wipe them off after you've used them with a little bit of soapy water, and they're ready. And I always put them back in the dehydrator to dry. What better way to dry off your things than put them in the dehydrator for 15-20 minutes, turn it on at the same temperature you dehydrate things with, and it's all ready for you to use the next time. So we're going to take our big grid, our fine mesh, and then put the Paraflex sheets over top. And you can do them either way with the printing up or down. It doesn't make a difference. Okay, so you've got it all stirred up, and now we're going to put it onto our Teflex sheet. And then we're going to use, I like these big stainless steel spoons because they make it really, really easy to do this. And I can make it into a square and cut crackers, or as I'm doing right now, I'm making a circle because this is going to be a pizza crust. So we can use a flax pizza crust as one of our things. Doesn't that look gorgeous? We're going to put that in the bottom here. Let's make sure we put it in straight. Okay. And then we're going to get another sheet. And when you're doing your flax recipe, any of the flax recipes from almost all of our recipe books are about the same as far as amount, you're going to have enough to make about 3 to 4 trays of crackers. And as I said, you can make them square. And then spread this out into a squarish type shape. And you want it to be about 1/4 of an inch thick. The thicker you make it, the longer it will take to dehydrate. Obviously, dehydrating is taking the moisture out of things, and the wetter you make it, the longer it's going to take as well. You want it a consistency so it doesn't run on the Paraflex sheets. As you can see, it's going in the shape that I want it to be, and it's not running. If it runs, it means it's a little bit too thin. And then, when we put this in, you can score it now, but I find that if I score it now, I might need to score it a bit later too. And that's all right, because you want it to break apart, but you can score it into some square crackers. I'm going to put that one in, and I'm going to leave space because I'm not filling up my dehydrator, so I'm putting it in every second one. And then we'll get another one. And this time I want individual crackers, or individual, I call them, pieces of bread. And what we do is we just make it into a nice little circle, and you'll see that I'm going to make a stacked tomato sandwich later on. And this is a wonderful thing to take to work or school for lunch as well. As I said, instead of eating your bread, you can eat your flax crackers. And depending on what I'm using them for, I'll leave them in the dehydrator a shorter period of time or a longer period of time. But I know for a fact it's going to take at least 4 hours before I can do anything with it. So there's 5 of them there. Is that level, Jessica? Okay. And we have enough batter, as I said. Now I'm going to make some individual little tiny ones, and these are for dips. Sort of like a tortilla chip or something like that. Again, today I'm doing them all about the same thickness. But these ones I'm going to leave in the dehydrator twice as long so that they'll be really, really crisp, and then I can use them with my avocado dip or a seed cheese dip or something like that. Okay, so we have it all ready. We have our trays in, and I'm going to put the door on. And it doesn't matter when you're doing the dehydrating if you take the door off and check your trays. Of course, the air is going to get out, but it's getting out anyways around the edges, so that's good. So we're just going to turn it on so you can hear the sound. And it's not that loud, but it does, it's not something you want to sleep next to maybe. But the other thing about it too is this is going to be 105 to 112 degrees. In your kitchen, in the middle of the summer, when it's 80-something out, you might not want that. Although this summer, maybe that was a good idea. But in the fall and the winter, this is a wonderful tool to have in your kitchen because it's warming up your kitchen. So you might want to have it in the carport area, or in your mud room, or in the basement, someplace else, because you're only going to go check it every so often. I normally have mine on a cart so I can wheel it around from room to room so that I can get it out of my way, because it is a rather large item. It does not fit in most cupboards, so you need to have it somewhere where you don't have to worry about it. And I find the little carts on wheels where they move around makes this a very versatile tool. These are the books, Rhonda's book and my own books. Rhonda's Culinary Creations has some wonderful recipes for you. In the Kitchen with Judy has some sections on dehydrating. And Kim Wilson's done a wonderful book with a lot of great recipes as well. And then you can also buy the Paraflex sheets, and you can buy 1, 2, 3. I suggest that you buy 3 when you start with the dehydrator, because you're going to need 3 for most of your dehydrating recipes. So we'll check this out in a few hours and see what it looks like, and we'll go from there. Okay, so here we are. Here we are with our foods that we're dehydrating, and we have another one that I wanted to show you too. And this one is a great way to marinate your vegetables and do a stir fry without actually cooking it. So we've just taken a naturally fermented soya. And I've got zucchini here, and celery, and broccoli, and red pepper. And we've just let it sit in the soya for a bit. And now we're going to put it in the dehydrator and dehydrate it, and then we can have it with our dinner, with a salad or something like that. And it's going to be a really nice, just like a stir fry as though we've done it on the stove. But they're still living, they still have their wonderful enzymes intact. Okay, so we're going to put that in one of the areas. And the other, it's about 3 to 4 hours since we were here last, and here we have our flax crackers, and they're getting pretty good. So we're going to take the sheet, and we just flip it over top of the fine mesh screen. Back in here. And then you just pull back. And if it doesn't come off, it means you have to leave it a little bit longer. And here we are with our flax crackers all ready to go back in. And there's our pizza. Now it's a bit thicker. We're going to pull that off, and we're not going to leave this one in as long because we want this to be, this is very gooey. If Jessica can come up closer on that. It's very gooey. We want to just dehydrate it long enough so that it's not gooey. And then we can use it. We still want it pliable, whereas the crackers, we want them to be crunchy. And here we've got our little individual ones. They're almost ready to use. And we'll come back in about an hour. They'll be totally ready. Our little individual breads. And then our little, these ones we're going to dehydrate longer than the individual breads because these ones we want to use as chips for a salsa or a guacamole. So there we are. And everything is ready. Go back in the dehydrator. Turn it all over. So it's all now ready. We're taking it off the Teflex sheets. Our temperature is still at about 105 to 110 degrees. We put the door back on. You notice it gets a bit quieter once we put the door back on. And it's all ready to go. So we'll look at this in about an hour to 2 hours and put together one of our little sandwiches. Okay, so we're back again. It's about an hour and a half after the last time. And our flax pizza crust, you can see it's pliable. So we might leave it in as a little tiny bit soft still. So we'll probably leave that in for another half hour. Our small rounds that we're going to use for sandwiches, they're perfect. And you'll see that you can make them into tacos if you want. And actually, if you want, you could find something, put this in and then dry it more and it will stay in that shape for you. But I like them so I can use them like this. And let's just spread a little bit of this on both sides. This is our seed cheese, and it's in all of our recipes, different kinds of seed cheese. And some wonderful lettuce from my garden. And we're going to put a couple of slices of tomato in here. We're making a really nice tomato sandwich. We then wedge back together like this. And there we've got our sandwich without the bread. We're using our nice flax. And what we do with these to keep them, I put them in the freezer, and I pile, usually when I make them, I've got lots and lots of them, I pile them into a plastic container, put the container in the freezer, and then they're ready to use. And I can take them out of the freezer when they're frozen, and it takes just a couple of minutes for them to thaw out. So here we've got a really nice flax sandwich. And we can use all different kinds of things to stuff it. We can have tomatoes like today, or a cucumber sandwich, or peanut butter and banana if you were using the other flax recipe, which is the one with the raisins and the cinnamon and the apples. And then down here, we're just going to look at our veggies. They're still coming along beautifully. And we have our flax crackers. Well, they're still pliable, so we want to leave them in here until they become very crisp, and then we can break them apart. And then we've got our little tiny chips, and again, they're very pliable. We want to leave them in. Now, you could use them like this for little finger foods and that, for appetizers, or you can leave them in, which we're going to do, and let them get very crisp. So we're just going to put this back on, and about every hour I'll be checking this now, and we got a real variety of different foods that we get from this. So thank you very much for joining us today in our kitchen, talking about the Excalibur Dehydrator and the wonderful flax crackers that we can make and different foods that we can make using this dehydrator. Thank you very much.